so cold. Oh my God. Hey, what's up guys? So today's video is going to be a video breaking down the Dehancer plugin for Davinci. I've done one in the past with Final Cut, but this time they reached out and asked me to do a video with Davinci. Full disclaimer, I did receive a 1-month license to use the plugin for this video. In exchange for making the video, I received a lifetime license for Dehancer for Davinci, but they didn't have any say in the video or what I say, nor will they see the video until after it's posted. I shot a video of my son at the beach about a week ago and edited it with Dehancer in Davinci, and I was gonna go shot by shot and just break down how I graded the film using Dehancer to give it the look I was going for the video. So without further ado, I'll roll that and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Hey, what's up guys? So you got to see the video that I shot last week and graded with Dehancer. Now I'm going to jump into how I graded the film and what film emulations and how I use Dehancer to sort of add a certain look to the film. So let's jump into it. First scene is just the clouds. I don't have the title text loaded up. So we have our 4-node structure for this one. So you have your LUT, your primary, your white balance, and your Dehancer node. So we'll turn the LUT on, primary correction, white balance, and then the Dehancer look, which I believe, yeah, so on this one, essentially, I used the Kodak Vision 350D, which you can see here when I turn this on and off. You can see this is before, after. You can see all the grain and sort of like how it just softened those up a bit, which I really like, and I think it works really well with this type of footage again. So again, on this clip, you have your LUT, your primary correction, your white balance, and then the Dehancer look, which again, you can see that's before and that's after. It just adds like, it kind of mutes those highlights a little bit, and then it softens up the shadows so that things just sort of look a lot more filmic. Kind of go to a clip here that I really liked. Like something like this, where you have like a lot of stuff going on in the background and it's busy. A lot of times it can look over sharpened and over digitalized on the camera, but then you add that Dehancer film emulation and it just softens up everything in this like area over here. You can just see the grain, and it's a very natural grain look that Dehancer gives you, which is one of the things I really like about their software. One of the other things that I really like about Dehancer is if you're gonna go over here into your settings for Dehancer, there's like all these different film emulations that you can mess around with. I mean, there's at least 60 or 70 different film emulations that you can use depending on the look you're going for. On something like this, I kind of played around with a black and white look, and you have your sliders for pretty much anything you need to customize. So your black point, white point for the specific look that you're going for, your film grain, your halation, bloom, film damage, film breadth, gate weave, and overscan. One of the other things that I really like about the software is that you have an option to kind of mess around with like a look like this. So you have different, let me jump into that real quick, if I can find it. So this is the overscan menu, I believe. So you have a bunch of different sort of aspect ratios that you can mess around with. So you can use anything like from a Super 8 look, Ultra 16, widescreen 35, Ultra Panavision, which is what I went for with this one. You can change the size of the film stock, essentially adjust the exposure for like these edges right here. And that's just gives you a whole different option for a look, and being able to add that after and sort of give it that film look is a super useful feature, which I've actually used twice in this. I really like this scene. I sort of use that in this clip. You can see, it's gonna play back a little bit slow, but you can see that it just kind of gives it a different look a little bit and adds that. It just adds a film look to the clip. So we'll go into this one, again, adding our color space transform, which is our phantom LUT in this case, primary correction, white balance, and then dehancer. The next clip here, turn that back on. So I've used that overscan tool, like I said, which is super useful, which has so many different settings you can adjust and customize to fit whatever kind of look you're going for. Again, on this one, just see how like this is so overly blue and kind of oversaturated, which is, I did bump the saturation up a little bit, but then adding that film grain in, it kind of balances out that color and gives it this really nice film look, especially with the grain you can see in some of the shadows here and the highlights. Going over here to that, we'll turn it off, turn it back on. I did a 35mm grain, I think at 250 ISO, which you can adjust the settings for over here. So you can add more grain if you want to, and you can even change the film stock size. So you could do something super grainy with like a 16mm film and adjust that accordingly. We'll go over to the next clip. This is a slow-mo clip. Again, it's just simple node structure. Like I said, you have your white balance, you have your LUT, primary correction, white balance, and then the Dehancer plugin. Again, I can't really explain how it does the look that I'm looking at, but it just gives it this really nice soft look with a nice grain, and softens the highlights, softens the shadows, and just gives it this super filmic look. One other thing I did do on most of these clips, or almost all of them, was add, let's see if I can go back over here. I added a radial blur to the footage. So I sort of added this blur on these edges here, which gives it a bit more of a, you can see the before and after there. Gives it just a little bit more of a vintage kind of look to it, which I really kind of liked, and that's what I was going for with this film in general anyway. Again, turning that back on and back off again, you can just see how just it looks more filmic. So we'll jump back into the color palette. Like I said, so we can kind of go from breaking down one of these clips start to finish. I'll turn these off. I'll actually go through and just build out a new look with this clip. So we'll do 4 nodes. So we'll go LUT, primary, white balance, and I'll just call this one grain. And so first we're going to grab our LUT, which I will be using the Phantom LUT pack, which I'll link these below if you're interested in getting some of your hands on some of these. So I'm gonna go with neutral. I generally just do neutral. It just gives the footage just a good starting point. Now we'll head down to our primary color wheels, and I overexposed these a bit on the XH2S, which was about, I think, maybe 2 stops overexposed, 1.5 stops overexposed. This is where I'll adjust my highlights, some of the shadows, bring the midtones down a little bit. So you can see that already has done quite a bit. I think I can brighten that up a little bit. Bring that up a little bit overall. Head over to white balance. I'm gonna just warm these up a little bit, not too much. Add some saturation back into the footage. So you can see this is the white balance node, but that's before. After, it just warms it up a little bit and adds a little bit of saturation back into the image. Then we'll head over to our grain and dehancer section, which will go down here, grab dehancer, throw that on there. You can see the starting point with this is, I think it just loads and automatically, loads in a look. So that's before, after. Generally find these to be a little bit too blue for my liking, so I'm gonna go with the, let's see, maybe we'll go with a Cinestill 800. So it's a little bright, but we can go in there and we can actually use this to adjust the push and pull. We could boost the contrast a little bit. Change our black point, which adds a little bit more contrast back in. And then it has like general tools for like color space transform, so you could actually, instead of using a LUT, you could go in and just transform your footage from, you know, Rec 2020 or whatever log format you shot in, and then switch that over into a Rec 709 space, which I really like having that built into the program. So if you just wanted to have a single node structure, you could do that right through here with Dehancer. But I'm gonna go down to exposure, compensation, and go down, maybe bring that down just a tad. It has, again, there's white balance built right in. So we'll go over here, see how that's looking. So this is before Dehancer, after with the look that we just built. One of the other nice things I really like about this is you can export your LUT. So if you take this and you want to say, okay, I like how this looks, you export your LUT, opens up that, and you just go film look, save, and jump to desktop, and let's see, there's your LUT right there with this whole node structure baked right into it that you could either save for another project or package up and do whatever you need to, deliver it to send to a client or to somebody that needs that specific structure. I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna try building out a look essentially with just one single node and see how that works. So let's go, this is a nice clip of the dog here. I'm gonna go in and just delete all of these, so that's all gone. This is just gonna be a single node structure for this look. So now I'm gonna build out a single node structure with this clip here, just showing that you can basically do everything that we showed in like this clip, say with your, so rather than doing like a 4 or 5 node structure, or you know, however many nodes you're using, you can use Dehancer to just build out your look straight with the plugin itself without using any other nodes. So like in, for example, this node, this LUT, in this clip we have our LUT, we have our primary correction, our white balance, and then we add Dehancer at the back end of the node tree. But you can use Dehancer basically for the whole entire color grading process if you would prefer to. So we'll start up here. Our source is going to be Rec 2020. Our source is going to be Fujifilm XH2 F-Log2. So it has most cameras that I've run into. Obviously, I think there might be some that aren't in there, but they update it pretty regularly, and the F-Log2 just recently got added, which I really is super useful. So again, you can basically go in and pick your camera, then you kind of go in from there. So it has exposure compensation, which I will drop this down a bit because like I said, I overexpose these by about 2 on the XH2S. Overexposing between like 1.5 and 2 seems to work really well. I'm gonna warm this up just a little bit. I don't even know what some of these do, to be honest. Then that's pretty much it. There's your whole color space transform and log Rec 709 conversion all right in here versus doing, I mean, you have more freedom doing it this way, so you can kind of have these independent of each other. So you can have your LUT and all that independent of the plugin, but I think that the way that it does it still puts that first in the node tree sort of in Dehancer, so you're still following, you know, having your primary conversion, then your LUT applied. So this is getting applied at the front, if that makes sense. So we'll head down, looking at our film stocks. I'm gonna go with a Kodak Gold 200. Push, pull, I don't know what that does exactly, but we'll leave that right there. You can add some contrast in, gamma correction. There's just so much that you can adjust in the plugin itself that I honestly don't know if you'd actually ever use all of them, but there's pretty much options for everything that you could possibly have to do. I generally don't touch a lot of these just because I don't find that I want things being compressed too much, so I'll turn that back off. The expand, I don't really use these, like I said, but they are there, they're nice to have. So this is a cool setting you can adjust. So these are like print profiles. If you were to print on a certain paper, this sort of applies what that would look like printed on paper, and you can adjust as needed. I generally don't use this one that much, but again, it's cool to have. Film grain is the one that I kind of mess with the most. You can, again, just adjust all the settings for this as needed. I generally go with a 35 millimeter, somewhere around this range, but you could, if you really wanted something really pronounced, you could go down into an 8 millimeter, and that's, you know, super grainy. And turn that off and back on. You can see how it just really expands this down here quite a bit too when you add that much grain into it. So we'll go with a 35 ISO 500. That way the grain's a little bit smaller, it's a little more finer grain, but it isn't completely muddying up the whole image. Halation's another one that I like to mess around with. You can do a very pronounced look with 16 millimeter no remjet. Remjet is basically a layer that's on old film that they can remove for, you get those red sort of glowing highlights around images. I can throw something up on the screen to show what I'm talking about, but again, if you want a really pronounced filmic look, that's built right into that. So I'll throw some halation. I'll do a little bit more of a pronounced look. So you can see here, this like red glow around edges and stuff that's what the halation is doing in that. Bloom, this just adds like a little bit of like a glow sort of to the image, almost like you used like a mist filter or glow mist on the footage. I'm gonna leave that turned off. Film damage just applies some like cracks and look kind of to that. You can use it artistically. I generally don't in most of my footage, but it is there. Then film breath and gate weave are sort of that jitter that you get when you're watching back old film and like Super 8 and 16 millimeter. It's jumpy sometimes, and that I don't generally use that most of the time, but if I'm doing something like with this overscan tool, then you might want to add the gate weave to give it that jumpy look. And I think you can turn off static so that it sort of jumps around a little bit. I'm on an M3 Mac Pro, but it seems to be jumping a little bit and skipping, unfortunately. So I'll go Super 8, Maybe I'll go 16 Ultra. So you can really adjust everything to kind of look however you want it to look. You can do a widescreen look, you can scale this up. You can adjust, I mean, you can really adjust the footage specifically in here too. You can defocus the gate, which is, you know, this area around here. And then if you're happy with that, you know, that's, if you really wanted an old school look. Sometimes this doesn't always look super natural. I think you can, you know, adjust that accordingly, but there's your before and there's your after, all with Dehancer baked right in on a single node structure with no other node tree needed, essentially. All right, so just jumping back into this here, you can kind of see where I use this look in some of these clips with the overscan tool. I think this one I kind of liked, or the Super 8. This one's definitely, I think the Super 8 1:33 to 1, 1.33 to 1 look is a bit more natural of what I would expect for film. You can even adjust how you want this to appear, which I think is really cool. You could scale that up a little bit, adjust your footage, recenter if you need to, and there you go. It's, I wouldn't say it's like super natural looking, but it is a nice feature to have, and like I said, using it sparingly can kind of give you a look and change, you know, using the effect sparingly, I think, is the way to go about doing something like this and giving a stylized look that fits whatever narrative you're doing or whatever story you're telling. So yeah, we built out our conversion essentially right up here, then went down, adjusted our film profile, which you can go back in later and adjust as you would like. There's just so many different options to choose from for different looks. It's just a phenomenal product. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I kind of jumped around a little bit. I hope this was informative, at least if you're looking at Dehancer. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I'll link the LUTS and the Dehancer website below. I do have a 10% off code, which I'll put right here, and I'll link that below as well. So they have a trial that you can download, which does have a watermark on it, but you can kind of mess around and see how all these different features work, because I'm not gonna go down and break down each individual feature in the plugin, because like I said, there's just so many different features on here. Also, please check out my website. I just recently revamped it. It's brianrubelt.com. I'll link that below as well. I have some merch on there, some LUTs and some presets for Lightroom if you'd like to check that out as well. That just helps support my channel and me being able to keep doing this a little bit. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace. Guys enjoyed that short little intro. Woo!